You're here because you want the full lowdown on the Honor Pad X9a, and I've got you covered. Priced at £199.99 or £200, this budget tablet offers a single configuration, 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Now, you might assume this is just a watered down version of the popular Honor Pad X9. In this review, we're diving deep to uncover everything this device can really do. So let's get into it and see tech for what it is. Starting off, we'll check out what we get in the box itself, and straight away, judging from the thickness of the box here, I can tell you we won't be getting a charging brick with this one. Pop the lid off here, and we have the Honor Pad X9a sitting on top in this sleeve. I'm going to put that to the side for now. In this small box, we get a quick start guide along with a warranty card, and finally a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and that's pretty much everything we get. Let's check out the design and build. Up front, we have a large 11.5-inch LCD display with symmetrical bezels all around. Turning to the top, we have the volume buttons, power button and a microphone, and the tablet is quite thin here, coming in at 6.7mm. To the right, we have two speaker grills along with a USB-C port, assume that 2.0. Around the bottom, we have nothing much going on at all. And then to the left, we have two more speaker grills, so that's a total of 4 speakers. Around the front, we have the 5-megapixel front-facing camera, and then turning to the back, we can see the grey colour, the only colour available that is, in all its glory, and it has this nice, almost metallic finish, which shifts with the light. Weight comes in at 465 grams, so not too heavy, and it's an all-metal unibody design. Then the camera module has a single 8-megapixel lens with some AI camera and f2.0 text, has this really kind of funky, glittery look to it, which again shimmers in the light, and it doesn't protrude from the back too much, so that's good to see. So when you're laying the device flat, there is hardly any rocking, maybe the slightest little bit around the bottom left of the device, but all in all, I'd have to say solid design and what we kind of expect from Honor nowadays. So no headphone jack here, no expandable storage, and there's no cellular options here in the UK at least, and we also don't have an official IP rating, so best to keep the tablet away from any liquids. So for you eagle-eyed viewers, you might have noticed something different. Yep, I've upgraded my setup with the Flexispot E7 Pro standing desk. Let me show you more. This one here is the grey desktop paired with industrial level steel white frame, which is also available in black. And there are loads of desktop finishes too, like white, bamboo, maple, mahogany and many more. You've got size options ranging from 120 centimeters to 180 centimeters in length, 60 centimeters to 80 centimeters width, and options of straight or curved, so there's a fit for every workspace. The C-frame design gives it amazing stability and keeps the space underneath clear for extras like drawers and keyboard trays, and there's tons of accessories you can purchase to complement your desk too. It supports up to 160 kilograms, therefore easily handling multiple monitors and gear and whatever else you may have on your desk. Height adjustment is super smooth and quiet from 63.5 to 128.5 centimeters, powered by a dual motor system that moves at a fluid 40 millimeters per second. There's also a touchscreen keypad which comes with memory presets, a charge lock and a USB port, and the built-in cable management keeps everything clean and organized around the back. It's a serious upgrade and one that saved me a lot of backache, I tell you. Visit the Flexispot website to explore special offers on a wide range of products this month. Check out the link in the description to learn more at flexispot.co.uk. Let's jump into the display. Starting off with the specs, here we're dealing with an 11.5-inch LCD display. Resolution is 2.5K with PPI coming in at 255. We have up to 120Hz refresh rate and 100% sRGB color gamut along with various TUV certifications. Pretty much on par with the Honor Pad X9, with the only difference really being that the X9a has a tiny bit higher PPI. And though not officially stated anywhere, as far as I could tell, the display is laminated with no discernible air gap, so it's good to see that on a budget device. As the screen is TFT LCD, you might notice a subtle graininess or shimmering when viewing the screen from wider angles, especially under certain lighting like sunlight. This is typical for this type of panel and is most visible when not looking at the screen directly. Quick look at display settings, and we have light and dark mode which you can schedule. Brightness here is 2 nits at the lowest and then 400 nits at the brightest, so it's not super bright but not surprising for a budget tablet. Eye comfort and sleep lets you toggle circadian night display which you can schedule and brings a warm tone to the display itself. We have ebook mode, which will give the whole display a more grey tone, so better for when you're reading. Font settings lets you pick from various fonts in the themes app. Display size will obviously just let you adjust the overall size of the display items. We have color temperature with 3 options between default, warm and cool, but there's no actual display color adjustment here. And then screen refresh rate with dynamic, which will adjust automatically, or you can lock it into the standard of 60 Hz or higher of 120 Hz. When it comes to streaming content, YouTube playback maxes out at 1080p 60 FPS. Content on here does look quite good for a budget device. Color reproduction is commendable, I would say, with the full sRGB coverage ensuring vibrant and accurate colors. And the images do look nice and sharp. You're obviously not getting that super high contrast ratio here, but for the price, I can't complain. Netflix shows us that the tablet supports wideband level 1 with full HD playback. Of course, no HDR capabilities. So streaming here, you'll be getting the full 1080p quality. Again, content looks nice and sharp with good color reproduction. That applies across the board to all streaming services. And we can see in Prime Video, again, highest resolution supported is 1080p. Content on here looks really good too. Viewing angles aren't too bad with a dip in brightness at the more extreme angles, and there's a slight temperature shift, but that's typical of an LCD display. And though here in the UK, as far as I'm aware anyway, there is an unofficial stylus available for the tablet, so I thought I'd check it out with my third-party universal stylus. Navigating the device using this stylus seemed to be fine, but when it comes to actually drawing or jotting down notes, it's not the best experience. There's quite significant latency and the accuracy of the pen is quite bad. I mean, I can get away with doing the most basic things here, but nothing more than that really. And for the sake of testing, there's no palm rejection. So I'd probably just use a pen like this for navigating the tablet itself and not actually for any kind of intricate drawing. But in a pinch, you can just use it to kind of jot down quick notes. Other pens out there that actually work better with the tablet, but there was none that I could find or that I have in my possession. Regarding display output, on my testing with the USB-C to HDMI dongle, my monitor didn't recognize the tablet, and it was the same situation with a direct USB-C connection with my monitor. So looks like there's no wide display output supported here. And in the use USB 2 settings, I did try switching over to transfer, but for some reason it kept defaulting back to reverse charging. At least we have that, I guess. So reverse charging will work on devices connected to the Pad X9a. And then using the display outside in brighter conditions, it was okay for the most part. You will struggle a little, and in more intense lighting conditions you literally can't see the display at all. But overall, I think for this price point we're getting a solid viewing experience, making it viable for media consumption and everyday tasks. When it comes to speakers, we have 4 speakers with 4 smart amplifiers as Honor claims, along with 200% volume boost. In the sound settings, we can see we have Honor sound stereo, and for sound style we can pick from auto, standard, we have vocals, music, movie and game. I'm going to sample some music first, so I'm going to set it to that. Bear in mind the upcoming volume will be quite loud. To adjust how sensitive the keys are to your touch, making typing smoother and gaming more responsive. But what really sets this keyboard apart is its customizability, whether it's
Don't worry, ma'am! I'm coming!
In summary, the speakers on here are good. I'd say they might not be as good as the speakers on the Pad X9, but they offer clear and loud sound, and I think there is some distortion at the 200% so-called volume boost. There's maybe the tiniest bit of bass response, and depth was okay too. Nothing that's gonna blow you away. So not the most amazing speakers as we'd expect on a budget device, but still solid enough for media consumption. The Honor Pad X9a is powered by the Snapdragon 685 chipset, a lower mid-range processor also found in the Pad X9. It features 6GB of LPDDR4X RAM, complemented by an additional 6GB of virtual RAM via Honor RAM Turbo, which is enabled by default. Storage here comes in at 128GB, while the specific type eMMC or UFS is unconfirmed. I would hazard a guess that it is UFS given the device's capabilities. The device is running on Android 15 along with Honor Magic OS 9.0 out of the box, but there is no official word from Honor regarding OS updates or security patches that I could find anyway. We'll check out what we get in the settings, and we have the usual Bluetooth connection stuff. Mobile network settings, even though it doesn't have cellular connectivity. For more connections, we have Honor Share, wireless projection, printing, VPN and private DNS. Honor AI just has AI app suggestions integrated at various parts of the UI, and you can select which apps that will show. On home screen and style, we have the usual lock screen adjustments, wallpapers, things like that. For home screen settings, we can adjust layout, lock it, toggle auto align, adjust icon size, control what swiping down does and other options. And then we can adjust what the Magic Capsule does with toggles for different options, and then things like lock screen notification options with count and list, and also toggle to hide those notifications. For biometrics, we are only getting the usual password and then face recognition. Storage lets you see your storage updates, and then ability to clean up with auto scans of junk files and unused apps, so a useful way to kind of clean up the storage. And then digital well-being has various settings for things like app limits, bedtime mode, focus, screen time reminders and parental controls if kids are using the tablet. In accessibility, we have different options here with our shortcut gestures and also favorite spaces and cool enhancement options. And you can also adjust peripherals connected to the tablet like stylus, keyboard and cursor. I'll just change this to an arrow and I'm going to increase the speed of it. So jumping into benchmarks, for Antutu we get a modest score of 347,000, so quite low number there, but not surprising as this is, like we said, the lower end mid-tier chipset. And for monitoring, the device temperature rose slightly and we lost 4% of battery life. On Geekbench 6, again low scores, 464 on single score and 1449 on multi-score. For 3D Mark Wildlife stress test, we get a score of 650 and a very good stability of 99.4%. And for performance monitoring, battery dropped from 32% to 26, temperature rose from 26 to 28 degrees, and our FPS count here is a very low 3 to 6. We'll see how this translates in the upcoming gaming section. For read and write speeds, again things are reasonable. Sequential write we get 384 megabytes, and for read we get 740, and then random write was 27 megabytes and read was 22, so not blazing fast speeds at all, but still decent, I would say. In everyday use, the Snapdragon 685 is a capable chipset for your normal daily tasks. Most of the things you would want to do on a tablet will be absolutely fine. App load times are good, so you know they're not exactly blazing fast but not exactly slow, so you kind of do get a little bit of snappiness. I mean, there have been times when you will notice the processor kind of choking up a little and having to catch up with things, but that only happened like here and there, and it depends on how much you've got running in the background amongst other things, or if you're using a heavy app or doing something processor heavy. That's the only time I saw a bit of stuttering or lag here and there, but generally the experience is a good one if you're just keeping things light and straightforward. Control center is okay with access to most of your functions, and then you can swipe across to get to your notifications, and of course you can edit the control center as you please. And when it comes to productivity, you can hook up keyboard, mouse, anything like that, and get any kind of word processing done, as I tested out here on WPS with no problems typing up a document. And we can also enable split screen if you want another app running on the side, and again no problems, and the tablet was able to handle that absolutely fine. You can also have pop-up windows, but I noticed my YouTube app went a bit funny here in the background, but must have been a bug. And as far as I could tell, the pop-up window is limited to one window showing on screen at a time, but you can swap these out from the taskbar on the side. And you can customize your home screen with loads of different options, such as adding various cards. You can also have different options to adjust the layout like minimalist and categorized. We also have access to Google Gemini, which can be evoked by holding the power button for a few seconds, or you can obviously use your voice and say hey G. But I did notice it wouldn't let me pick any other models even though I have access to Gemini Advanced. But it works fine with system actions and also whatever other use you would have from an AI assistant. We'll check out RAM management quickly, and I have a bunch of apps open here. I'll open up a heavy app like COD Mobile. When going back to the open app, it looks like most of them have stayed open in the background, so that was good. And then I'll test it by opening the camera, which notoriously clears out any background running apps. And again, it seems things were still running, but in this case COD Mobile had to restart. And then we'll have a quick look at connecting an external storage to the Pad X9a. and the tablet recognized it fine. And I'll head over to my 4K videos I have stored on here, and I noticed not all of them were showing the thumbnails, and when trying to play those ones it wasn't able to, so I'm not too sure what's happening there, even though they're all the same file type. But the ones that were showing thumbnails worked fine, and as you can see, scrubbing through, there is a second or two delay. And then we'll copy over a file to the tablet, and this file is 352 megabytes. Took around 30 seconds or so not too bad, not exactly blazing fast, but I would say decent transfer time. So overall, I think Magic OS 9.0 is definitely an improvement from previous generations. It has some bugs here and there, but generally the Snapdragon 685 processor is a well-rounded processor for basic things. Obviously, you can't be pushing it too much, as we'll jump into gaming now and we'll see its limitations. So we'll check out some gaming on the Pad X9a. First thing I'm going to do is connect my controller to the tablet. We're starting off with a battery percentage of 69%, device temperature of 34.5 degrees. And we do have a game manager here, but it's quite limited in what it does. But we'll have a look at that in one of the games. And then I'll turn on performance mode in battery settings. We'll start off with COD Mobile. Couldn't download Warzone on here because of the CPU limitations, I'm assuming. But for graphic settings, we're getting very high for graphic quality and then high for frame rate. And I've turned on most of the other settings to kind of push it. And swiping in from the left, we have Game Manager. So there's no FPS counter here, so I'm not going to be able to track that. But we do have the option to switch between balanced and game mode. And you can adjust things like brightness here, or you can pick from different display filters, shooter or colorful, to spruce things up a little. Gameplay itself here, not bad. We're not expecting much here considering the limitations of the chipset, but visual quality looks really good, and frame rate, which I'm having to guess, I would have to say is running at least, in the high 20s or 30 FPS. Running quite smooth from what I can see. 12 minutes in, and we'll now switch the frame rate to high, which defaults the graphic quality to low. Now, although the visual quality has taken a hit, I can definitely feel the difference in frame rate here. It's running just a bit more buttery smooth and responsive. It's probably not hitting 60 FPS, but I guess it's in the high 40s. I don't know, maybe low 50s, but the game is running absolutely fine, nice and smooth, as I said. So after 20 minutes of COD Mobile, we'll check out our stats, and battery is now down to 61% with temperature at 36.5 degrees, so not too bad with the temperature there. Next, we'll jump into Wuthering Waves, and starting off by default, it looks like the game is running on the lowest graphic settings, which frankly looks quite awful. So let's jump into the settings and crank up everything. I'll switch everything to the highest available and see how it handles that. And now the game does look a lot better than it was before, but the frame rate is struggling really bad here. It's like choppy and jittering way too much to actually enjoy playing it. Again, limitations of the chipset. So we'll turn things down a little. I'll set the frame rate to target 30 FPS, and I'll kind of lower the rest of the settings to low or medium. And I mean, now the game isn't as visually appealing as it was before, but it's not bad as the initial default one that was set up, somewhere in the middle. So at least it's playable now with much more smoother gameplay. So medium or low will be the better way to go around here, it seems. And then near enough 50 minutes into gameplay, we are down to 47% battery, and device temperature is reading 37 degrees. So reasonable temperature still, nothing kind of overheating here. I've added a new game to my list with Roblox, seeing a lot of people wanting me to include this, so I've just picked one of these racing mode games, and I'm gonna choose this McLaren GT here, and I'll turn the graphic quality to the highest possible. And though the game looks quite good, again, similar situation, I can see the frame rate is suffering, so the game is choking up and running really choppy. And that becomes more evident when the pace is picked up in the game. So again, higher graphic settings are going to make the device struggle to keep up. I'll bring graphic quality down to halfway, and now it's running a lot better than before, but it's still obviously not the smoothest gameplay. Might have to turn the settings down a tiny bit more, but at least it's playable. And I have to say, this is my first time actually playing Roblox. I know it's very popular with kids and stuff, but it seems like a fun kind of game. And lastly, we'll check out PUBG. Here we have a maximum of HD for the graphics quality and high for the frame rate. And with those settings, the game does look really good visually. Obviously not as amazing as what we would get on Ultra HDR, but still decent. And the frame rate is nice and smooth here with no lagginess or choppiness that I could discern at all. So playing here would be an enjoyable experience. And of course, games like this are well optimized, especially for Snapdragon processors. Oh, I found a buggy. I'm gonna put my foot down on that one. And then finishing off our little gaming session here, after 1 hour and 10 minutes, we end up with a battery percentage of 39%, so a total loss of 30% battery there, and device temperature of 35 degrees. So not too bad when it comes to temperature, but the tablet does feel a little bit warm around the back and stuff, but nothing too crazy. So for gaming, we have quite a bit of limitations, but on the lower settings, you'll be able to have an enjoyable gaming experience. But that's my little gaming test. When it comes to battery, the Honor Pad X9a has a 8300 milliamp hour battery, so quite a bit larger than the 7250 milliamp on the Pad X9. It supports 35-watt fast charging and has a standby time of 70 days claimed by Honor. In the settings, we have our different modes with performance mode, power saving or ultra power saving, and each restricts the device in different ways to prolong the battery life. Battery optimization will show you battery draining features and allow you to quickly optimize the device to increase battery life. And in more battery settings, we have things like power consumption alert, smart charge, which learns from your charging routine, smart battery capacity will charge just short of peak capacity, and then a toggle for staying connected while asleep. And then power consumption details gives you a screen on time today along with a graph to show your battery charge and drain periods, and then the usual battery usage by app list. In my testing, I streamed content from YouTube, Netflix and Prime with the screen brightness around 80%, volume around 50% and dynamic refresh rate, and I managed to achieve a screen on time of 6 hours and 42 minutes. So I mean, it's not exactly the best, but it's not exactly the worst. So I have to say the battery is probably mid in this tablet. In the camera department, things are fairly simple and budget here. We have a 5 megapixel front facing camera and an 8 megapixel rear camera. For the different modes, we have scan document, we have portrait, photo, video and more, which has HDR photo, time-lapse and stickers. Looking in the settings, things are straightforward here too, with aspect ratio options for photos, smart capture and recommended filters. For video, we can pick from 1080p max resolution or 720, and frame rate is locked at 30 FPS, and you can toggle efficient video format. And then we have AI photography and generic settings like remembering your settings, timer, grid, level and mirror reflection for front camera. In video mode, you have 1x and 2x options and an adjustable beauty scale. And for the front-facing camera, we can see it has quite wide angle and supports 1080p 30 FPS max resolution with the same generic options. For photo, we again have generic options like ratio, timer and grid, and here you have different filter options and also the 1x and 2x options along with the beauty feature if you want to make yourself look pretty. We'll have a look at some captures from the Pad X9a, nothing too fancy here, and I've included an example of the front-facing camera in Zoom if you're interested in that. Doing a camera test. 1080p 30 FPS, highest available. Got some dark clouds over there. Good weather's gone, at least for a while. Lost some focus. Now we're back. Front facing camera. Okay, so let's wrap up the Honor Pad X9a. It's trying to be a good all-rounder in that middle price range. Let's quickly go over what it's good at. First up, the display, big 120Hz, so that's a plus. It makes everything look smooth and nice, whether you're watching stuff, browsing or just doing your usual tablet stuff. Then there's the audio. Tablet speakers are generally pretty good, so watching videos and listening to music is enjoyable. Performance-wise, the Snapdragon 685 processor can handle, everyday tasks, multitasking and some light gaming without too much fuss. Design looks pretty sleek and modern, fairly slim, so it feels a bit more premium than you'd expect for the price. Finally, it's got enough battery to kind of get you through a typical day, and Magic OS based on Android has some useful tools. Of course, it's not perfect though. The cameras are okay, nothing special, but we're not expecting much from there anyway. Performance is fine for most stuff, but it will struggle with demanding games or when you're trying to do a lot at once. Speakers, I have to say, can get a bit distorted when you crank the volume up, especially at that 200% volume boost. The fact that there's no OS update information or any official statement on that, I would say is a negative. So where does that leave us? Overall, the Honor Pad X9a is a decent option if you want a tablet that won't break the bank and is good for videos and getting some work done. Its display, sound and performance are pretty solid for the price. Basically, if a smooth screen, good sound and values are your priorities, the Honor Pad X9a is worth checking out. Anyway, that's my review and thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.